Coffee and Chats with just Adam this week, and today we are joined by Andy, Mr. Andy David. So Andy is currently in the Back in Charge Blueprint, and I just thought I'd invite him on today just to speak about his experiences of his time inside the Back in Charge Blueprint, what's been like the big wins for him, and also just like why he decided that he felt that the Back in Charge Blueprint was the right thing for him. So, Andy, like before we move on, just like if you'd like to introduce yourself. Who are you? Where are you in the world, and what do you do?
My name's Andy David. I'm a software guy. I'm 50. I don't know how old I am, as we established a few minutes ago. I'm 53 in a few months. I'm a software guy, so I live a fairly sedentary life. I spend a lot of my life sitting down. As a teenager and into my early 20s, I did a lot of track athletics. I was a sprinter and long jumper and triple jumper, and I played a lot of basketball. So sport has always been, sport and fitness was always a major part of my life. Then throughout my 20s, so later 20s, 30s, 40s, and up until now, I've kind of been living off that legacy, and it doesn't work. So yeah, I'm 52. I'm a professional. I work in software. I sit down a lot, and I feel my body getting a little bit creaky, and I have lower back issues, some neck issues, and I thought I wanted to just feel a little better. Started off, I wanted to feel physically better, and I thought I'm not going to do it without a little bit of effort, and I thought I need a little bit of guidance, and I need some support and some educating along the way. So and it was Kerry that approached me on LinkedIn. I think probably I was aware of the Back in Charge Blueprint. I'd heard of it. I can't remember how. I wish I could. And it looked very promising, but I needed that little catalyst from Kerry, that initial contact. It just didn't occur to me that I could do this sort of thing, which sounds bizarre.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I work predominantly from home, so my daily life was get up, get myself to work. Now there is no commute. I work about 6 yards from where I sleep, and working from home is brilliant, but you've got to be very careful. You've got to be quite disciplined to maintain the work life, home life.
Oh, it's hard.
Separation.
That's it.
And it's so easy just to carry on working because I like a lot of what I do. And of course, as I'm working, I'm still sitting down, burning a lot of calories up here, one would hope, but very little down here. And one of the things I found slightly weird is, even though I work with multiple displays, so I do move my head, I don't move my head very much. And I lost a little bit of that movement side to side. And ordinarily, maybe not an issue, but I was also learning to ride a motorbike, where it's the sort of thing that'll save your life. You have to do this, particularly this side, and it's important. So I'm gaining some of that back. So that's my backstory anyway. And I like talking as well. I seem to do that quite.
You do like talking. You do like talking. I remember our initial call. Like we were just chatting for ages, and it was just just effortless. And it's like an hour and a half later, I went downstairs. I was like, "Oh yeah, Andy's joined the Back in Charge Blueprint. Oh, cool." It's just great. But cool. So, like, just tell me, like, just summarize, like, something you just mentioned there. You said about how you would like doing sports when you were younger, and you were still like living off of that. Which is quite common, isn't it? Like you're not alone in that. Especially for guys. Whether they've, a lot of the guys that come through the Back in Charge Blueprint have played rugby and all of that in their part, when they were younger. But they still have that mentality of, I was a rugby player, so I'm still fit. Is that? Yeah. Whereas when we get older, it
was partly because I used to train a lot. I joined the athletics club when I was 9. I started taking it seriously when I was 15, right into my early 20s. And there were several years where I was training 5-6 days a week. And it was hard. I was in a very strong squad. We actually had a British international in my training squad, numerous Welsh internationals, and it was hard training. And I always felt, because I'd done that, I knew what it meant, and I knew that it wouldn't take too much effort to make some little improvements. And I had this little segmented thought that, oh, I don't need to do much and I'll be better. So oddly enough, because it was only a little thing I felt I needed to do, I kept putting it off. And I thought, if it was a big thing, you've got to sweep the decks and you've got to like clean a table, and you get into it, and you get into it with an investment. And you think, well, if I'm doing this, there's no sense half-arsing it. I've got to put my heart into it. But I felt, if it's only a small thing, I can do it tomorrow.
That's all right. That's it. It's not a big enough monster, is it?
Exactly. And of course, 20 odd years later, I haven't done it. And I hadn't done any kind of, let me think. I had a gym membership in my 30s that I liked, but it was more of less of a fitness thing, more of a doing something different, because I was totally, I was working too much in a job which I found very difficult, and it was very, very technically challenging. So I'd go to the gym to be away from it. So it was, yes, I did have some fitness, but I wasn't there for fitness. I was there so I wouldn't be doing something else. And it was just something I chose to do. I played squash with my brother-in-law, that sort of thing, which had the social aspect, but it was never for the purpose of fitness or training or weight loss or any sort of well-being.
But that's a good thing, though. Like, if you're just going just for a social, then that breaks it down, because for a lot of people, don't enjoy going to the gym. Let's be honest. Like, it can be quite a daunting place for guys. Going into a gym, especially if you're out of shape, and you're out of shape. You're feeling very self-conscious anyway, and then the thought of people looking at you out of breath and being uncomfortable, and all of that, it puts people off.
Yeah, it's true. I remember looking. I was on the steps machine, which was one of my favorites.
Yeah,
and and I thought I was reasonably good at it. I'd be on a sort of a moderate level of resistance, and I remember one day I'd really pushed myself, and I was hanging off this machine, and I was I was a mess. And I looked next to me, and there was it's hard to describe her. She was young, very small, 20 something, and I was hanging off this machine, trying to keep my steps going, and she was on the hardest setting, and she was just on the steps, not touching the machine in any way, just on the steps, just doing this. And she had a water bottle, and she was listening to music, and I just thought, this is so easy for you. This is so easy for you. And this is so hard for me. And I'm on a far easier setting than you. I don't understand. Of course, later on, I realized that body weight's a factor in those machines.
Yeah, but you were able to understand that. But for you in that moment, could put you off. It's like,
absolutely.
I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to be going to the gym, so I'm just not going to go. For some people. So, tell me, we had a conversation about the back and charge blueprint, and you just, what was the main reason? Why did you feel that the back and charge blueprint would be right for you?
I think it was the way it was presented as, it's not there. I mean, there are things that it does. It'll help you lose weight, but it's not there. It wasn't presented as a weight loss program. Because weight loss in itself I thought, well, yes, it would be handy for me to lose some pounds, but I've got other things I want to achieve. I want to stop having lower back problems. I want to help stop having neck problems. I want to feel better in myself. And the way it was presented was that this is a means to achieve those things. And there are other things like you'll understand nutrition a little better, you'll understand hydration better, and not to the extent that I can write a book or a paper or even a paragraph, but I understand.
Sorry, I just want to stop you there.
Yeah.
Do you have any desire to be able to write a book about nutrition?
Do you know, since starting the Back in Charge blueprint, I've learned a little bit about. I mean, as I'm vegan, of course, as we've spoken about, so some of the nutritional aspects are a little bit more challenging. It's slightly harder for me to get the amounts of protein that are recommended, but it's possible. And it's been interesting learning about that and learning about how exercise and calories have some sort of equivalence, which I kind of knew anyway. But it has made me more interested in it. Whether I want to write a book or not on that, probably not. No. Although it's nice to share experiences of where I was 12 weeks ago now to where I am today, what I've learned and how it's altered my values. Not massively, because we're not talking about massive changes. I mean, that's one of the things that I think can help put people off, is that life is hard, life is complicated, life has demands. I don't have the time or the energy to really make big changes.
No.
And
unless, if we were to look at the other guys in the group as well in the program, would you say that those people would have the time to make massive changes as well? Like a lot of them are commuting to work, they've got high pressure jobs as well, and families, the commitment to families and all of that. So, that's, you don't have that space. They don't have that capacity either. Yet it's working for you, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, back in our, I think in our initial call, it was the biggest point I had was how much time is this going to need for me to do it properly? Because I felt I didn't have much. And I've managed, because of the way the changes come through, it's like I saw on the group call yesterday, I did a little bit of catch up. You only make 3 small changes per week, and then you stack the changes on top of those. So the first week it's the steps to water and the breakfast.
You're giving away the secrets, Andy. That's cool. That's cool.
But then so each week the changes are really small.
Yeah.
And for me, it was, I thought, well, 7,000 steps is 6.5 more than I used to do. But I worked out a way of doing it. And it, as I was making the change to do the steps, I started to sleep slightly better, which meant I needed a little bit less time in bed. So I had a little bit more time in the day. And they're not vast changes, but they're enough. And they're positive changes. And it's, I think that's the overall, that's the big takeaway for me, is that my life's not vastly different now, but my values are slightly different. My days are slightly different. But there's a thing in software, and I think in many other things, called the 80-20 rule, where 80% of the benefit comes from 20% of
the action. That's it.
And that's where we're living. I think with some of this, maybe it's not even 20% yet. Maybe it's only, with the level 1 Back in Charge blueprint, it's only 10% of the changes I could make. But with the acceleration phase at the end, where I've not been able to do, I've not been able to commit to that because, at the moment with the demand,
got stuff going on. That's it.
Stuff that's going on with my dog and my father-in-law. This is where I am, but this isn't where it stops for me. This is, I'm on week 12 next week, and it doesn't stop. I don't just go back to being me. The values persist, and the habits will persist. I mean, I've still got, my water.
I like to use the analogy, Andy, of when people teach their child to ride a bike, and they're holding the back seat. They're holding the seat of the bike, and the child's
Oh,
pedaling away. Yeah,
yeah.
and you're running alongside it, and then the child's doing the work, but then it comes to a point when the person lets go of the child, and the child continues to ride their bike, and they either fall off and hurt themselves, or they continue to ride, don't they? Now this is what would you say, like with the Backing Charge Blueprint, that this is what we've been able to do with you. We've been able to. You're on the bike, you're pedaling. We're there guiding you, so you're not falling off. You're having a little bit of a wobble, which is good because that's life.
Yeah.
But after the 12 weeks, that you'll then have the confidence to continue riding.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's I hadn't realised. I mean, at the moment, I'm on about sort of 3.5 to 4 liters of water a day. It's that's one of the things at the start. It's increase your water intake, build up to it, and now I feel much better throughout the day, particularly towards the end of the day. It's like the amount I feel better is like this throughout the day, and it's I'm not saying I could at the end of the day I'm still boundless energy, but I'm better. I feel better. I'm a little bit more alert, and all I've been doing is drinking more water. So it's guidance like that. It's now I have a smaller breakfast and a smaller lunch, but I feel better because of it. Eating slightly better quality foods, and it's the sort of thing where, yes, I'd love a donut from time to time, and I can have a donut from time to time, but it's
just don't have 2 donuts.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm holding a donut, one can argue that yes, there are 2 donuts in this picture. It's very much it's a good analogy. I think it's because the changes feel daunting and it feels like they will be negative. They will have a negative effect on my happiness or my well-being or whatever. Because I've got to do some exercise now.
So let's rewind back to week 1.
Yeah.
Okay, like you were there, weren't you? Like you had a massive wobble in week 1, didn't you? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it seems ages ago, doesn't it? But you're like, like Adam, you're like Adam. I've got work, and my work's work's a priority, and my family, and I don't know if I can be able to have the time to fit all of this in. That but. That's how you were, weren't you? And that's normal. Like that's normal feelings for people. But what I really liked was that you communicated.
Yeah. I mean, that was me wobbling and like physically wobbling and saying, I remember trying to plot out my day. I had a little spreadsheet. I plotted out my day, and I was trying to fit in where I could do the exercise, and where I could. I mean, that was the biggest time demand at the time was how can I fit in so many thousand steps per day into my day, and after a while, I found just getting up earlier was the key. And it's I'm a software guy. I hate getting up. I love staying up, but I hate getting up. And the morning, regardless of who you are, I think the morning is the most productive time mentally and physically. And it sort of wears off. You get tired throughout the day, but it was such a difficult thing to start doing. And of course, the morning routines that you start building up really help to reinforce that habit to say, okay, I've got to do these things now. I've got to do these things. And I know because I've experienced it, as you experience, I don't want to give the details away, the family jewels.
That's okay. That's fine.
As you build in these things and you start doing them on a daily basis, and then you think, this is interesting. I think there's a little benefit here. And, the 5 minutes on the journaling and just the 5 minutes of, the really bad one in the shower, cold shower. But it's, it's hard. And for that moment, it's not very pleasant. But then the other moments, for that, I mean, it's as soon as that initial shock, in fact, even before that initial shock goes, you think, I've got this under control. It's not so bad. And you get the breathing under control. It's not so bad. It's not a big deal. And then it's okay. And it's all of these things, they all sort of help the next bit get easier. The next time you do it is a little easier. And I'm still not Prince of Mornings, because software engineer, we never are. But it's a lot better than it used to be, and that's useful time now. Several years ago, I think 4 years ago, I gave up drinking, and I noticed I had more useful time in the evening, and I love a glass of wine, I love a bottle of beer, but I like the evening time, the constructive evening time more, and it's just part of my life now. It's not a big deal, and it has other benefits. I'm always available to drive someone if anything's needed.
Yeah.
And it's, maybe 1 day in 100, that'll be useful, but I can be relied upon for 100 days out of 100. And it's those sort of little tiny things where I feel better. That morning routine makes me feel better. If I don't do the morning routine, I know I'm sacrificing that benefit. And then it may not be the next day that I feel it, but it will be the day after, or the day after that. It's going to come. Yeah. And I like the morning clarity. And I like the clarity it brings throughout the day. One of the big takeaway for me is, yes, I've lost a bit of weight. I'm fitter. How
much weight have you lost?
It's about 8 kilos, I think. 8 kilos, and it's
around a stone, isn't it?
Yeah, about a stone. I think maybe a stone and a pound or something like that. I was nudging 15. I was getting up to 15, and now I'm just under 14. And I'd like to get a lot closer to 13. But that's, I'm not finished yet. I'm going to get there.
You're not, exactly.
I'll see what life is like at 13 stone, where I've not been in very many years. But it's the well-being. I remember being out on a dog walk a few weeks back, and I realized my posture was better, and I thought, I feel better. It's easier doing this. It's not really easy doing this. It wasn't hard before, but it's now easier. And that's the big takeaway for me. I've got a clearer mind. I lose less energy throughout the day. I wake up almost on purpose. And it's start the day like you mean it. Start the day like you're doing it on purpose. More energy, more clarity in the morning, more structure, which I like, which does appeal to me. I like that I know more about getting through each day in terms of my nutrition and my water, and the stretches I do in the morning. It's like I do a little 10-minute yoga in the morning. It's only 10 minutes, but over a week it helps. And I used to do chiro visits, my chiropractor, 4-week intervals. I'm back at 6-week intervals now because of that improvement.
That's so good.
Yeah, and this is, we didn't start this at the beginning of the Back in Charge Blueprint. This is introduced. I forget which week it is, 4, 5, 6 maybe, but it's, so in a month and a half, I've had 2 chiropractor visits in that period. And he's gone, okay, yes, we'll see you in 4 weeks. Oh, now you're better. Well, let's go to 6 weeks.
That's so good.
And it's going to save me a little bit of money. It's going to save me trips to the car. It's going to save me pain. And that's a good thing. I'm happy with that. So it's why the benefits are so obvious and so clear and so useful. It's very hard to get back to where I used to be before.
Yes.
Because I know what I'd be giving up. And it's not like, what really would I be giving up? A donut, a slice of pizza, maybe once in a while.
Exactly. But this is like, I just want to stop you there. Like, this is what a lot of people think. Like, me and Kerry talk about this a lot. And when people start their journeys, they don't think about what they're going to be gaining. They think about what they need to sacrifice.
Yeah.
You need to give up a donut. Or you need to give up one of the glasses of wine. You need to give up, one of the pizzas, whereas everything that you've just said there is about what you gain. You know, you've got more energy walking the dog now. You know, you've now got better posture. You've now got less trips to the chiropractor. You know, like we said earlier, and like you've openly said about your guitar playing, that's improved.
Yeah,
You know,
it's true. It's true.
yeah,
I mean,
and the strength you've got there as well for your, for your partner, for emotionally and, mentally as well, that's improved as well. So this is really, really good, really good. But it's hard for people at the start because they just think of everything that they need, everything that they've tried in the past has been about sacrifice.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're going to go carb free to lose weight, or I'm going to do dry January to lose weight, So no, stop doing those things. Stop doing those things. Like, it hasn't worked so far. So that means then it's not going to work again. Like, you need to start looking at things differently. And you did that. So, Andy, like, what has been like the single biggest win, would you say, that you've noticed so far?
Oh, it's the when as you get old, you always still feel a part of you still feels like you're 20 or 22 or 18 or something.
Yeah.
Well, I'm 53 in a few months. I don't feel it. I never really have, but now I really don't feel it in a bigger way. One of the key goals for me is better flexibility. So, I don't need to do the splits or anything, but I want to walk without creaking. And I want to be able to tie my shoelaces up without a small twinge in my back. And it's happening. It's happening. So the big win for me is this, seeing I'm on this improvement, this continuous improvement path now, where before it was just getting a little bit worse over time, a little bit worse, because, I get older, I sit down a lot. I wasn't really looking after myself. But now I'm looking after myself just a little better. So it's just getting a little better. So it's absolutely true that youth is wasted on the young. And I see it in my son, bless him. He's 22 later this year, and he's got loads of energy. He's full of life, full of expectation. And I used to be exactly like that. And now, it's not as though I'm jaded, but you do learn, life lessons and things like that.
Yeah.
And your body wears out a little bit. You can't expect a 50-year-old guy to have the same kind of physical prowess as a 22-year-old guy.
Yeah.
But I do feel like physically I've unaged maybe 10 years. Now, I've always been slightly lucky that I look a little younger than I am. Not massively, but no, I feel a lot younger.
Like you do. Like, you don't look 53, Andy.
Yeah, 1970 I was born, but it was I feel a lot younger. I feel better, and with the guitar playing thing, it was slightly tongue-in-cheek, but it's not without foundation. There was a piece I tried to learn as a student back in 1992, and I couldn't understand how to play the middle part, and it was it's twinkly folk music on a guitar by a player called John Renbourn, sadly no longer with us. And it's complicated in the middle, and the timing is very different. It goes from 4/4 to something else, I don't know what. And I couldn't quite get the sequence, I couldn't quite get the timing. But as a student, and of course students don't have a great deal of money, but they all have stratospheric amounts of time, and I really had a lot of time. I didn't really have the mental clarity to learn it in the right way, and to refine my technique, and to refine how I was playing it in the right way. But then we had a short break in the Isle of Wight to as part of supporting my father-in-law. I took my guitar with me, and I started working on this middle section after 30 years, and I managed to get through it. And of course I've been refining it since, and I've still got a little way to go before I'm happy with it, because I'm quite sort of a perfectionist, picky about how I play it. But it's there, and I think it's the improvement in posture, it's the improvement in energy. A little bit of mental clarity helps, and it's things like the expectation that I'm not going to nail this today. I'm just going to nail the next 5 notes today. And if I don't, I'll be better placed to nail them tomorrow. And it's things like that. And now, yes, I can muddle my way through it. And, I think I can get from the start to the finish. I think, yeah, I played that. It was okay. It wasn't awful. But it's the same as just other parts of everyday life. I no longer feel the need to nail it today, because if I can get better today, I can nail it tomorrow. I'll be better placed there. And if I don't nail it tomorrow, it's because the problem's bigger than I thought. And you can never. There's a thing I used to say, whereas the truth is always good news, even when it looks like bad news. And the sooner you get it, the better. Because the sooner you can work on it, the sooner you're not working on the wrong thing. And when you're working on the wrong thing, of course, that's never going to end well. But it's if something's harder to do, something's harder to master, it simply means you probably didn't understand it to begin with, at the scale of the problem. So it's...
And what people normally do, like just going back to what you just said, is that like you're not trying to master it all in one day.
Yeah.
And that's, again, if we just refer it back to like Back in Charge Blueprint,
exactly.
We're not referring, like you're not trying to fix everything all in day one, are you?
Yeah, exactly. It's a core value of the Back in Charge Blueprint process, is that we build it. You build it layer by layer by layer over the weeks. And then it does actually tail off. Of course, you start pushing more some of the individual things towards the end, which is great. But it's not that much different now. I mean, me now, in my daily life, my daily habits aren't that much different to what they were at the start, but the values behind them and the motivations are slightly different because of what I've learned and because of the benefits I've seen in myself.
Yeah.
And it's quite a change. It's quite startling. I've lost a bit of weight, but I feel better.
That's the main thing, right?
And I feel better in a mental health sense as well, because that's something that in my past has been troubling. We all have issues with mental health from time to time. I've had quite prolonged, nasty runs of it. But I think I feel a little bit better able to deal with them as they come. And it's just nice. I think it's just a very positive experience.
Well, you shared something with the group, didn't you, the other week? I didn't want to touch on this because, like some people don't like talking about it, but, you just mentioned it there. But you shared something. Can you remember what it was that you shared with the group the other week?
Oh, I talk so much drivel.
No, you don't. No, you don't, Andy. No, go back. I think you was in the Isle of Wight at the time. Yeah. And you said, I've had, like, it's been 3 days or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What was it, Andy?
It was, I remember I was on the call. It was chucking it down with rain. I was out doing my steps, and it was actually a wonderful experience. I quite like walking in the rain. But I said it's been 3 days since I had a depressive episode. And it's a major, major deal. Life's hard. And we don't always, I think the more you care about things, and the more involved you are in things, and the more things you expose yourself to, the more pressure you get. And it's very, very easy to let feelings of futility and worthlessness chip away at you. It's very, very easy. And it's also very, very hard to not let that happen, to not feel that you're inconsequential or that you don't matter. And none of us are placed to see how we matter. There's not one single of us, not one single person can see how they matter, even the people who are more self-aware, because we only look at ourselves through our own eyes, through our own perceptions. I can't see the world through my wife's eyes, and the person I know most in the world, and the person who I understand most in the world. But I'm still not her. I'm still not feeling those like commitment to her parents and the commitment to her job that she has. I can only feel the things that I have, and it's. I think as you do things like as you make yourself better, you make yourself a little fitter, a little bit clearer each day. What you do with that is your personal choice. I could think, oh, so the rest of it, I'm just going to go and play guitar for the next 3 hours tonight, and you can all look after yourself. But and that's fine. I'm not knocking that. But when you choose to do it for something positive, like supporting someone, or just looking after someone a little better, or taking the time to appreciate them a bit more, then that affects you. One of my beliefs, I don't want to bang on about it too much, is that we're all here to serve the greater good, to serve the wider community and nature and the planet. And society so often gives us this message that we need to serve ourselves. And it tells us these things, and it says, you've got to have your beach body, and you've got to have the fancy car and the nice house. And these are the things that you should, if you haven't got them, you might be inadequate in some way. So here's some program to help you be less inadequate. And this is the message that we get all the time. And as soon as you start seeing it in advertising and things like that, it's everywhere. And of course, these things they're just there so people can sell us, I want to buy next year's model car. I want to buy next year's iPhone. I want to update my MacBook because, next year is going to be shinier. But none of these things have intrinsic value. It's the services that they provide that have the intrinsic value. And that's what we are as people. The service we provide is our value as a person. And if I can be a better husband, then that sounds like quite a nice idea to me. If I can be a better parent, that's a nice idea. And if I've got a little bit more clarity, a little bit more energy, if I have more clarity and energy, I've got more patience, and I've got more time, and I'll be more welcoming. And I can't think that any of these things are bad in any way. These are the things that give my life permanent enrichment. And yes, I can play guitar for 3 hours, and I'll have a lovely 3 hours. But then that's gone.
But then that's it, right?
That's gone.
Yeah.
And I've probably tarnished my relationship with my son because he wanted to tell me something, and I said, "Oh, tell me later when I finish practicing." And no, it's not a big deal, but in the grand scheme of things, it is a big deal because that little tiny addition I could have made every day for that day is gone. It's like not making a pension payment for a month. It affects the grander scheme of things. So I think anything you can do to make yourself feel better allows you the space in your life to be of better service to the people that you love and to the things that you love. And I think that draw the line there for the explanation. Of course, you can say that means it's better for you too, but I don't think that's relevant at all. I think do something because it's right, end of.
Exactly.
If something's right and you get a benefit from it, then yes, that's nice. But do something because it's right, end of story. And you will have the best, most fulfilling life, most purposeful life. It's we read stories, fantasy stories, people say, look at these immortal people, wouldn't you want to be immortal? You think, well, no, not really. But there are ways of being immortal in how you live in other people. And it's the values you give them, it's the happiness you give them, it's the pleasure with which they remember you when you're no longer in their life. I mean, people come and enter and leave our lives all the time, work colleagues and friends and all sorts of things like that. But so I'm not just talking about when people pass away, but it's what you leave in someone is a little imprint of yourself. And I think that's it's a good thing. That's a wonderful thing. It's a privilege to be able to do that. And it's not, I think, a much greater privilege than driving a Ferrari. And I'd love to drive a Ferrari. My favorite car is a Porsche 911. I'd love one. I can't afford one, but I love that they exist. But I'd rather have a strong family unit where my son feels he's able to have a conversation with me about things that are troubling him, or he can come to me and ask for help. I can go to him and ask for help. That's richness. That's fulfillment. And I think it's and in a little way, the Back in Charge blueprint is enabling me to be a better person because I've got a little bit more energy. I'm a bit fitter.
Exactly.
I can react more. I can respond in a more positive way. And in the last few weeks, Oh my God, has it been bloody useful? It's been incredibly useful. And I'll take my dog to the vet this afternoon. She's got some drain tubes in her chest at the moment, and they might be able to remove them. And my wife was stressing this morning, and it's much easier for me to say, "No, it's okay, I'll sort it." And it's only one thing that's small, but then there'll be other things tomorrow. And she always does the same for me, because she's incredible. She's got huge capacity, huge empathy for these sorts of things, and it's nice to be able to say, "Okay, leave that with me. I'll manage it. Take care of it. That's not a problem for you to worry about now. And when you come back this evening, Nellie will be here and she'll be fine. She's just down here at the moment."
Yeah, I can hear her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
nice.
John's in for some food.
Cool. So Andy, like, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it, and just sharing your experiences. Like, you've had a massive journey in such a short space of time, and being able to deal with so much as well. So it's really good.
Yeah.
So if you were to wrap up like your experience of the Back in Charge Blueprint, like in one sentence.
Oh, that's the hard bit. It's the speed.
I know, right? Yeah. What would it be?
Well, I can do one word, and that's worthwhile. It's worthwhile. It's a long-term benefit. I mean, the benefit is going to go way beyond the 12 weeks, because the handful of things I've learned and the small changes to my values means that this is now it's sustainable. It's a permanent change, and and that's what it is. It's permanent. I don't know. There'll be a pithy sentence in there somewhere which I'm grappling for, but it's small changes that give substantial long-term benefits. I mean, this sort of thing, it's harder to give up than the old ways were to give up.
Yeah.
Because the old ways, that was, I could be comfy, I could be lazy, I could snack throughout the evening, things like that. But the new ways is a much more permanent benefit and a much deeper benefit. So it's very small changes for a big long-term benefit.
Amazing. No, thank you. Cool. So for anyone that's watching, like Andy, if anyone's got any questions, would it be cool with them just to send you a message on LinkedIn? And
absolutely.
Is that cool? Yeah,
absolutely. Yes, be my pleasure.
Cool. And, nice one.
I tend to have much shorter emails than talking.
No, it's all good, Andy, all good. So look, if anyone's got any questions about the Back in Charge Blueprint, or if in fact yourself are interested in wanting to lose, get results like Andy and lose between 50 and 35 pounds in 12 weeks, then send myself or Kerry just a message and we can just have a chat. Okay. But thank you for joining us. Andy, thank you so much for coming on. It's been really good having a chat.
Yeah.
And we just got one last comment, and that is actually Rob Anderson, and he actually he's actually just jumped in anyway. So he jumped in the program, and he was on the group call last night. So it was and again, a bit like with what you said, feeling overwhelmed at the start. Rob was feeling that as well. He's like, I don't feel prepared. He's like, well, I've only asked you to change 2 things. He's like, oh yes. He's like, oh yeah. Oh, is that it? And that's the thing, right? So, Rob. So, like, again, thanks for coming on. And Andy, just thank you for just sharing your journey so far. Okay.
My pleasure. Cool. My pleasure.
Nice one.
Thanks a lot, Adam.
You're welcome.
Thanks.